Listen, I'm going to admit it right away. I really like this game. Tower of Time just took me by surprise. This title ticks all the right boxes for me. Players control a group of adventurers on their way to uncover secrets of this ancient, mysterious tower. The game puts a heavy emphasis on tactical fights, with tanks grabbing enemy attention, generating aggro and using taunts. Then there are heroes who can serve the team with healing and supporting spells. And then, of course, we need a strong damage dealers. Tower of Time offers a great itemization for our adventurers. We can build them for different purposes. It's like a dream come true for me. I played World of Warcraft for almost 12 years and my favorite part of that game was raiding and dungeon crawling. For such a long time I was looking for a single player experience encapsulating all of the WoWs raiding features, so I was ecstatic when I started my adventure in Tower of Time. And well, you can do that. And this does not look great, but... And this is a trap. Bam, bam, bam.
Yes.
My blade is yours, command. Moving in position.
Going.
Okay, heal.
Slay.
They thought they won? No. And then go back with the arrows. But it turns out that there are some glaring issues with the title. If you want to know more, then let me introduce you to the late review, Tower of Time. This review is based on 56 hours of playtime, completing the game and every side activity on each tower floor on epic difficulty, completing every encounter from the challenge list, well, without the training dummies, acquiring 100% achievements available in the game. So here is what I think. Tower of Time is developed by the Polish studio Event Horizon. It's an indie title and, in my opinion, it's being criminally overlooked. The game tells a story set in a slowly decaying world of Artara. Player's story starts when our younger self stumbles upon the remains of the tower, an ancient structure buried beneath the ground with only a small fraction of it remaining above the surface. In this introductory section, our character will get into contact with this mysterious being, a voice coming from the depths of the tower, bestowing visions upon the defenseless mind of a child. As most children would do, we ran away, but the memories of the tower and its mysterious resident persists in the mind of our character. So we return to the tower as adults with our loyal companions. This is the point when the game truly starts, because we will play as those companions rather than our own character. We task them with a goal of reaching the deepest level of the tower, uncovering its secrets and identifying the source of its immense power. Event Horizon creates a vast, interesting lore for its game. At first it might seem like Artara is just another generic fantasy world with humans, elves and dwarves. The lore is not being dumped upon the player right away. It's being treated more like a reward for progressing through the tower. With each encounter won, secret found, we not only unlock new gear for our team, but we also get to know more details about Tower's purpose, its weird inhabitants, and the past, present, and potential future of Artara. This is Tower of Time, eh? Developers even play with ideas much greater than time. They touch on other worlds and dimensions, which makes plot even more interesting and different from anything else. It stands on its own. On our adventure we will meet some mysterious characters. The main goal most of the time will be to just venture deeper inside the tower. Sometimes in order to do it we will need to restore some machinery, defeat a great foe or find a way to open some closed doors. But the main point is to get deeper, to discover the source of it all. The characters in the story are well written. They have their own set of motivations and personality traits. We start with Kain and Maeve, but our party will quickly grow. We will meet a stoic frost giant, Boron. The lore about his race in particular is very interesting. It's different. Then there are more traditional fantasy characters like Eric, the elven druid, or Rakem, the dwarven rune lord. I have a lot of respect towards Event Horizon and the writers. They could just create a set of characters, push them into the narrative with a basic set of personality traits, and call it a day. Let the strong gameplay carry the game. But they didn't. Our team, their motivations will change throughout the story. The tower will challenge their beliefs and force them to clash with each other. Conflicts will arise and the game will ask us to make a choice. Whatever we will choose, some party members will be pleased with the outcome while the others won't like it. It will be shown by their alignment, a bar showing how much they agree with our cause and how much they support us. You see, every hero offers a buff to the team. High alignment increases this buff, while negative alignment applies a debuff if that particular party member takes part in combat. For example, Kain increases or decreases HP percentage of our team. Eric offers a buff to mana regeneration. It's a nice idea raising the stakes when conflict occurs. You not only think about what's right, but also how the choice is going to affect the party. Cool way to connect narrative choices with gameplay. Unfortunately, towards the end of the game, I already had my favorite setup of heroes to use in combat, so every choice I took was geared towards making those 4 people happy, and I didn't care about the other team members. This is an indie title, so expect to read a lot. The only voice actor is the narrator. Our teammates are not voiced and they tend to talk a lot. I'm not against reading, so I haven't got a problem with that, but I guess there will be people that won't like it. To be clear, Tower of Time does not offer Pillars of Eternity levels of reading, but our characters are going to banter a lot, argue, talk with tower inhabitants. Those conversations on many occasions push the plot forward and introduce the characteristics and motivations of our characters, so they shouldn't be skipped. I especially liked how Kain and Maeve, our starting heroes, changed throughout the story. Kain starts as this righteous, chivalrous hero bound by his oath, but then he breaks, shows his human side. There is one floor of the tower that is specifically designed to explore the stories of each of our companions and challenge what they value the most. The story is good, if you manage to stay committed and interested. So, we are getting to my biggest problem with Tower of Time. The game is too long. And I really don't say it lightly. I like long, epic adventures. Both the plot and the gameplay are interesting and very well done. Then why the hell would I claim that the game is too long? When I started my adventure with Tower of Time, I was ecstatic. The game offered me everything I ever wanted. But it blows its load really fast. By the time players get to the 3rd floor, they pretty much have seen all the combat mechanics. The whole system is really strong, but with massive amount of enemy encounters, the tedium and monotony starts to creep in. Story is constructed in a way where it starts kinda bland. Players quickly learn though that there is much more to this world than previously thought. Then writers add more lore exposition, they introduce our heroes' dilemmas. And as this is Tower of Time, they also play with events happening in other era. Event Horizon introduces some futuristic elements to its high fantasy narrative.
Above our planet. It was just a window which they couldn't open yet.
This is strictly personal, but I was never a fan of mixing modern or technologically advanced features with typical fantasy setting. I can still recognize that it makes the story feel fresh and original. The thing is that the plot gets more and more convoluted. There's this cosmic influence, an otherworldly race of weird beings. Enemies from different time periods show up. It's a lot to take in, and if we would split the game into 3 segments, it all happens in the 3rd, last part, which is the same time when player starts to notice monotony. So, gameplay wise, you have this strong start, but then after, let's say, 20-30 hours, it gets a little bit less flashy. It's still really good, but there is some noticeable tedium. The story slowly builds up, but at some point it gets really complicated and introduces this futuristic, cosmic themes, which for me were kinda unappealing. and it happens around the same time when the monotony kicks in, which creates a feeling like the game drags. The story's conclusion is satisfying though. Just like a wires minigame in Among Us, it connects narrative loose ends and delivers a memorable closure. It's just a shame that couple of tower floors preceding the last level could discourage some players from reaching the game's finale. I have an idea of what could have broken the tedium of deeper tower floors, but first let's talk about the broad scope of this title's gameplay mechanics. Tower of Time does a lot of things in a very satisfying, correct way. So my heroes start
All right.
All right.
by being split.
My blade is yours to command.
Okay, so both
At
healers
your
are...
service.
Okay, we can do this.
Money.
Let's
Yes.
slow time. You have no one for now. There is no one to curse, so we
Yes,
are
my lord.
okay.
Will
Here,
Shoot them.
you go here. Boron should attack. You bump, buff. On our journey through the tower, we will acquire new teammates willing to join our mission. Every hero has a class assigned to them. Maeve is a marksman, Kain is a shield guard, Boron is the blade master. Each character has its own skill tree. As the hero grows stronger, the new skills and variants will unlock. During exploration, the whole team follows our commands, but for the encounters, players have to choose 4 heroes to take part in combat. Fighting sections are highly tactical. There's a lot of ways to overpower the enemies. We can use terrain, we can create obstacles for our foes in forms of traps or walls drawn on the floor. We can abuse their weak resistance to elements. There are a lot of strategic options which become crucial on harder difficulties. Defeating enemies provides precious loot, gold, resources and equipment. The game has great itemization. Gold is mainly used to upgrade our settlement and level up heroes. Player's Town is not an explorable piece of terrain, it's more like a menu which you can visit whenever you want to craft something, upgrade a building or a hero. New crafting recipes and building enhancement plans can be found on various tower floors. Town also gives us an option to check out the Challenge tab. It's a list of optional encounters which can be a great way of acquiring more gold or rare crafting materials. Harder challenges offer powerful artifacts or rare enchantments. We can unlock new challenges while progressing through the tower. Fighting is just one way of acquiring loot. Exploring tower is another way. There are numerous chests hidden on various floors, many hidden rooms. Being an observant person can help you spot some concealed gold piles. On our journey through the tower, we will also find various puzzles. The game offers some hints, usually hidden in notes scattered around the place. Each floor has a portion of side quests to complete. And to make things manageable, the map of every tower level has a list of activities available so players are aware if they missed something. I like that feature. Okay, let's really appreciate how great team building, combat and itemization are. As I said before, each hero has a designated class. Each class has its own skill tree. Abilities offer a lot of choices in how you want to play a character. There are also 2 different upgrade paths for each skills, which can fundamentally change the way you play a character. The physical, and for him also it's good. I mean, damn. Permanent slower, permanent armor reduction. Does it stack though? That's the question. I will have to check it, but definitely let's go with the armor reduction first. You see, in combat each team member can use only 4 skills, so we have to pick the right loadout. Kain, the shield guard, can be built to be a tank, generating a lot of aggro using a shield to increase his defenses. He also has some supporting spells with self-heal which can be changed to be party-wide. With the correct attributes, Kain can become a healer. He even has a decent damaging abilities and can use 2-handed weapons, so some people could make an argument that you can turn him into a decent damage dealer. Do you see how great it is? One hero, so many choices. This thing got me so hyped because if you have a vision for your team, then with the right choices and a little bit of effort, you can enforce it. I will give you an example. My first team was Kayn as a tank with party-wide heal. I also upgraded his dash ability to pull foes towards himself so he could group enemies easier. Eric with his healing totem and Treant to be used as an off-tank, very helpful at the earlier tower floors. Then Maeve as my main ranged DPS and Rakem as my main melee DPS. I soon realized that Maeve's traps upgraded to also cause bleed and Rakem's fire runes upgraded to stun enemies not only were great sources of crowd control, but they were cheap on mana and dealt a decent portion of damage. And so my landmine strategy was introduced. I used the fire runes and traps on cooldown and placed them anywhere I could around the combat area. Then by using aggro and line of sight, I just kited enemies through the minefields and enjoyed the mayhem. Was it a reliable strategy? Maybe. It was very slow and on boss fights it was painfully slow, but it was fun, and that's what counts. So after that I decided that I want to cut the melee DPS from the team. The problem was that if he pulled too much aggro and enemies targeted him, then on many occasions he died too fast. I thought that I want to try this glass cannon ranged team composition. So Kayn stayed in the team as tank with an off-healing capacity and the wall ability in order to control enemy movement. I spec'd him primarily in HP increase, armor and elemental resistances. The main goal was for him to be the toughest guy on the battlefield. Holy hell. Like, look at Kayn. He's... Damn. I'll use that. Will I out-heal the damage? Yes, I out-heal the damage. Eric stayed as a healer with his Treant and I also gave him an AoE damage spell. The other change was that his healing totem was upgraded to also increase mana regeneration. Since my team was heavy on mana consumption, it was important to help them replenish resources. And since 3 of the team members were ranged heroes, they could group up around the totem when it was active, not only regaining lost HP, but also regaining mana. Maeve was my physical, single-targeted damage specialist. She was a sniper who was supposed to kill high-priority targets. I still used traps, but the idea was to control and slow enemy movement at key locations. The new star of this composition was Whisper. She was my AoE spell Armageddon Maker. So, the main requirements for this team to work was not letting enemies to attack any of the glass cannons, grouping up the foes so the AoE damage wrecks all of them, and keeping up high mana regeneration. I cannot specify enough how mana dependent this composition was. There was another issue that appeared later. On epic difficulty, enemies not only deal more damage and have higher HP, they also have stronger elemental resistances. On the last floors, the only way to reliably burst down the enemies was to clump them into one big group, and before unleashing hell, use Whisper's Suffocation Dome. It's a spell that creates a dome over a medium-sized circular area. Every enemy inside suffers periodical air damage, but you can upgrade the skill so it also heavily reduces elemental resistances of enemies inside. You see what I mean? So the trick was to use the dome first and then just follow up with everything I've got. Then after that wait for all the cooldowns to replenish and do it again. Of course, Maeve as a physical DPS with very high armor penetration stat was taking down enemies one by one no matter what. I even played a little bit with a team designed around Eric's spell Earth Curse. It greatly reduces the earth resistances of all enemies. Eric also uses a spell adding earth damage to weapon attacks of all teammates. I guess you imagine where I'm going with this. Let's see. -7, -12. Whoa. He has -8. Which means we are going right. Duck.
Yes.
Trap.
Fire,
Okay.
Of course.
Go to this side.
my lord.
How much? -80 -208. Do you see now why I give so much praise to this game? The tactical options are out of this world, and itemization and crafting only enhance that. Whatever goal you will put before your team, an informed decision on which statistics and attributes are worth chasing on a hero is vital. Each new tower drops progressively stronger items, with some artifacts offering crazy spins on item statistics. Be careful though. Equipment in Tower of Time can also decrease some attributes in order to give a powerful boon to other ones. It's your decision as a player to decide which stats are worth giving away in order to get an extra edge. And sure, on lower difficulties it won't matter that much, but on epic difficulty it was a key factor. I had numerous situations where I had to sit in my hero's inventory tab and try to figure out ways of squishing a little bit more power out of my team. I wholeheartedly love it. It was a welcomed challenge. Whenever you find yourself short on interesting equipment options, crafting comes to help. You can craft various armor pieces and weapons. On many occasions, you can create an incredibly good item. Of course, there is some randomness to this process, but if you really want to reduce the stakes, then, it's a single player game. Save and reload. There is also weapon upgrading, which lets you enhance chosen weapon attribute. And then there are enchantments. You should never underestimate those. Armor and weapon enchantments in this game are very powerful. Tower of Time gives its players a plethora of options to enhance their team's capabilities. It's really cool to see how it changes the fights. Quick example, in my glass cannon team composition, I started summoning water elemental as Eric. More minions should increase the damage output. At first I was able to summon just one elemental. Whenever I summoned new one, the old elemental vanished because the spell duration ended. But then I upgraded the skill in a variant, adding AoE projectile for Waterlords and decreasing their cooldown. I also stacked Eric with items reducing his cooldowns. With time, as I kept upgrading Water Elemental skill and stacked more cooldown reduction, I started to notice that I was able to hold 2 Waterlords at the same time. Then 3, then more. I got to a point where I had an army of 7 or even 8 active minions at the same time, all of them with area of effect attacks. I cannot specify enough how much freedom this game gives in terms of building a team and then upgrading it. After each encounter there is a spreadsheet of damage dealt to each hero as well as damage dealt by them. There also are things like healing done, a feedback for the player if they want to check for specifics. Right away it reminded me of my raiding times in World of Warcraft when I used Warcraft logs, and after each raiding night I was analyzing it in order to get some informations. Who failed the most? What were the things that posed the greatest problem for the guild? This post-combat screen gives the same kind of information. Thanks to it I could see that my reliance on water elementals paid off, since they kept dealing massive amounts of damage. Also thanks to it I resigned from using Phantom Bow skill on Maeve. I thought that I cannot go wrong with another minion who can't be killed and is dealing damage freely. Turns out that bow haven't dealt high amount of damage, so I decided to skip it. So, post-combat statistics, incredible addition. Received 10,000 damage done, DPS 54. That's fine. Okay, loot, character statistics, team making, build making done. But it's nothing without a great combat system. Fortunately, Event Horizon designed one hell of a combat system. Players fight on a medium-sized maps. Usually there are a lot of enemies. There is a meter on top of the screen indicating percentage of how many enemies you have dealt with. As I said before, encounters are highly tactical. There is a great emphasis on positioning. Bad placement can lead to your team being overrun quite fast by the adversaries. There's an addition of slowing time, is an equivalent of active pause from CRPGs. In settings menu you can even change time slow to an active pause, so there you go. Tower of Time gives you options. This feature is used to allow for more convenient planning and skill placement. Slowing time allows players to reassess the situation and make crucial decisions. In order to spice things up, Event Horizon introduced some additional challenges to regular encounters. So our heroes can get ambushed. One or more teammates will start the fight caged. They won't be able to do anything until the cage is destroyed. It adds a whole new dimension to strategizing. During some fights we might oppose not only the regular enemies but also magic towers supporting our foes with a barrage of elemental projectiles. There are also portals. They spawn new waves of enemies until they are destroyed. It helps to keep encounters fresh. Our enemies will vary. On each floor we will meet new creatures and new kinds of foes. Enemies can also have their own sets of skills. Some of them can cast spells. Most of the crucial spells are telegraphed. So whenever an enemy mage is going to cast a fireball into a certain place, you have a red circular indicator that heroes in that place are going to take damage soon. Pretty standard stuff. Now, you can even disrupt casting or channeling spells. Eric's Treant interrupts nearby casting while spawning. If you upgrade Kane's dash ability to pull enemies towards himself, then it also works as an interrupt. Maeve's arrow barrage can be upgraded to blind enemies. It not only interrupts casting but prevents ranged attacks for a couple of seconds. Developers gave players numerous ways to influence the enemies and craft their own strategies. Boss fights have multiple phases. Each new phase unlocks a new ability for the boss to use. So usually it gets more hectic the longer the fight goes. If you've watched my previous videos, then you should know that I'm a sucker for a good boss fight. Whenever I see boss in a game, I'm not scared. I'm more like, what you've got? And if the boss smashes me to the ground, I get excited. I'm like, we're gonna have fun. So naturally, after seeing how well combat is designed, I was sure that the boss encounters will be spectacular. Boss fights are decent. There are 2 or maybe 3 that really stand out, but the rest of them are just okay, which is disappointing taking into account that the foundation is solid. One of the first bosses was a Banshee. She was not only supported by regular enemies, but on her second phase she started using a life leech spell connecting her and all of my heroes with those green lines. So my team was rapidly losing HP while the boss was regaining its health. 2 ways of dealing with this. Break line of sight or use an interrupting ability. I also had to remember that some of the regular enemies who kept incoming could also use this life leech ability. In their case it was single target and it was much weaker, but still it posed a threat. So I positioned my ranged heroes close to a rock formation, and whenever they were targeted by the ability, I moved them behind the edge of the rock to break line of sight. If there were too many green lines at the same time, I just used Maeve's blinding arrow barrage to interrupt every enemy around my team. It was a great introductory boss fight, simple attack patterns that still required playing around them. With time I realized that most of the boss fights were just larger enemies using more deadly versions of regular attacks. Those were still well-designed encounters, but they lacked something special to them, a factor that would set them apart from regular encounters. I grew accustomed to various sizes of red circles appearing around my heroes, forcing me to move them. This is the right time to go back to the monotony I was talking about before. This is a great combat system. It allows for a lot of player agency, but Tower of Time takes at least 30-40 hours to complete, and there is not enough variety in the encounters to keep them fresh for the whole duration. The fact that on each floor there are 2 or 3 combat arenas and they just keep reappearing can also tire some players. Event Horizon added ambushes, portals and towers, trying to introduce some variety to combat sections. Some enemy types use different attacks, like a hook grabbing a hero to the enemy location, or adding a stun or snare effect to their AoE spell. It works to some extent, but those additions accompany players since early tower floors, so they get old in the later parts of the game. I would say that adding some sort of environmental hazards, which would be specific to each tower floor, would go a long way. So let's say parts of the combat area lighting on fire from time to time, a set of traps laying on the floor, a system of electrical rods placed on the battlefield that would be connected in a line by a lightning strike every 15 seconds, zapping everything on their way. It could introduce another layer of tactics and innovation. The same goes for bosses. For me, most of them seemed like they lacked this one specific mechanic that would set them apart from regular encounters. At this point, even changing their circular indicator into square would probably work. I realized that I'm playing an amateur developer right now, and an actual developer watching this would say that implementing those mechanics would take like half a year in order to properly test it, and then would run out of money because for indies money is usually a big issue. I get it, I really do. I'm just giving my feedback because as a fan of this game and now this studio, I want to be constructive in my criticism. Let's be real, graphics look outdated. Character models are blocky and low on details. Environments and overall visual art style reminds me of League of Legends graphics before the overhaul. My wife shares this sentiment. Each time I was playing Tower of Time, she asked me if I'm playing the game that looks like LoL. There is one important thing to state here. I do not consider graphics to be a very important part of evaluating a game. It matters to some extent, of course, but it's much more important how you design your environments, how you use the graphics engines you've got. Event Horizon really likes to play with perspective and layers of floors. There are multiple areas where we traverse platforms and we can spot an area, pickups, and maybe some enemies beneath us. Then 20 minutes later, we will get to that part of the map and we will be able to explore it. It's really cool and enforces the scale and how massive this structure, Tower of Time, really is. Even though the graphics engine is not very flashy, it can still create some interesting locations to explore. I also like music in this title. It's not your traditional choirs with explosive epic music themes. Tower of Time's OST leans into more of a softer, calm territory. Even the introductory piece has this undertone of mystery. There are no sudden spikes in volume or intensity, yet for me it felt captivating. My favorite track is the one playing on the 4th tower floor, Magic Training Grounds. It's kinda cheerful with a hint of mystery. I really liked it. It's fair to say that I enjoyed the exploration and ambient music in Tower of Time. However, I found combat pieces to be forgettable. As I said before, voice acting is very scarce in here. The longer conversations are pure text, but the single voice lines delivered by our team members when they accept players' commands all sound fine. The narrator and the other voice actor showing up late in the story both gave a very good, commendable performances.
Stairs led me to a crystal throne which glittered with swirling light. I felt strangely compelled to approach and sit. As I took my place upon it, a sudden torrent of light enveloped me.
So, Tower of Time is not a very demanding game when it comes to required PC specs. It should run fine even on older setups. The game's stability is worthy of a praise. I haven't got a single crash or stutter while playing. You could say it's a very polished title. The settings menu is pretty standard. Every basic slider or feature is there. And that's enough. What about bugs and glitches? Well, this is a very bug-free experience. The enemy pathing, while really basic, is reliably working all the time. Their AI just chooses the shortest way to engage players' team. In my opinion, that's totally okay. Our heroes most of the time are outnumbered heavily by the enemies, so the ability to predict their pathing and their behavior allows players to create strategy, play with positioning, lay down traps or create bottlenecks where you want to just nuke the clumped adversaries. There are also taunts and aggro management. While some intricate AI strategies and movement would be definitely interesting, I'm not sure if it would work well with the design of combat in Tower of Time. Navigating our characters out of combat when we explore the tower floors tends to sometimes glitch. You need to show them an exact point on some platforms or bridges for them to actually go there. So that might be a little bit inconvenient. And on one particular combat arena, I found a spot where you can glitch one of your characters to blend into a rock formation. This is the arena, but I will not show you the exact spot because it trivializes encounters. By staying at that spot, you can attack enemies, but their AI just breaks. They come close to your character, but they won't attack. If you place a spellcaster or mage in there, then you can solo the encounter without taking any damage. But that's just one arena. I haven't found places like that in other combat zones. Okay, let's check the latest Steam reviews for the game. I'm interested in an elaborate opinions. You know, actual arguments why people liked or disliked this title. I'm open for hot takes as long as they are well argumented. And as always, I do not consider my opinions as superior. I just want to see what other Steam users think about the game. At the time of making this video, Tower of Time sits at a score of 84% positive reviews out of more than 1700 total reviews. I'll start with the positive reviews since those are the majority. Most people praise the game based on its tactical combat system and well-designed progression. Story and writing, while more divisive among the player base, still garnered more compliments than negative feedback. The interesting fact is that many positive reviews still point out that the game got tedious or boring in the later parts. Let's look at this opinion. I cannot overstate how much I understand this person. When I started the game, I felt the exact same way, you know, I was hyped to the moon, this was an absolute masterpiece, etc. The game did everything right for me, but then, at around 5th tower floor, it started to get tedious. For me, it wasn't enough to stop the adventure, mainly because the game mechanics are too good, but I wholeheartedly agree that the game started to drag after that point. Unfortunately, the reviewer never finished this game, because it got too boring for them. This is the most prevailing argument in the negative opinions, that this is a boring and tedious experience. Some people dislike the combat in general. I saw numerous reviews comparing it to tower defense since the enemies come in waves. I do not fully agree with it, but if you really want, you can see some similarities to the tower defense genre. A lot of people didn't like that battles happen on the separate map. Loading screens are not long, so I haven't got a single problem with that. Other than that, some people had problems with loot. Not every newly acquired item is a direct upgrade. Usually it's more of a trade-off. You need to decide which statistics you value more. Certain individuals found the story to be too convoluted. They also didn't like the banter between the teammates. I have to kinda agree that at some points it feels like there is too much talking. It breaks the pace of the game. I know that it's supposed to flesh out the characters more, but it's interrupting the gameplay. Last note, I found out surprisingly low amount of reviews complaining about bugs or crashes, which enforces my opinion that this game is in very stable state. There are 77 achievements obtainable in the game. If you want to get all of them, then you will have to play Tower of Time on epic difficulty, which is the hardest setting. There's a way to cheat this requirement, I will explain later. So, as always, there are some story progression trophies. No additional requirements, just get far enough in the main narrative. What's interesting is that there is no award for beating the game. Story progression achievements just ends after getting through 5th floor, which is around halfway through the game. It's odd. Then, on the same first 5 tower floors, there are additional missable trophies. On the first floor, you are supposed to donate Kane's blood to Sintro's statue. On the second floor, there are 3 missable achievements. One is awarded for solving Clock's puzzle, other one requires you to defeat an ancient guard. You can find the destroyed mech, you need to turn it on and defeat it. Then at the end of this floor there is a big battle with orcs and their leader. You can weaken your opponents before the fight by using explosives. But in order to do the achievement, you need to win this battle without weakening the boss and on epic difficulty. At the next tower level, called Service Floor, there is another missable achievement requiring you to fight against a broken mech. Parts needed to repair it are hidden in a part of the map accessible only by a portal. On Magic Training Grounds, there is a boss which needs to be defeated in order to access lower floor. Again, you can make it easier for you and weaken it first, but the achievement here requires to defeat the boss on epic difficulty without weakening the creature. This fight was a pain. On its last phase, the boss heals itself and is also quite resilient to damage, and I just got totally out of steam. My team lacked mana to burst it down. DPSing down the last 10% of its HP bar took me like 15, maybe 20 minutes alone. The 5th floor has 2 missable achievements. You will gain access to a small robot who will fight alongside you. You need to win at least one fight where this little guy is alive at the end of the fight. The other trophy is awarded for typing in a specific set of numbers in the cipher machine. It will result in a combat, so get ready to fight. The code is 0666. Another set of achievements is strictly tied to difficulty. On each tower floor, you need to win 5 fights on epic difficulty. Each tower floor awards separate achievement. On the last tower floor, you specifically need to win the first 2 fights on epic difficulty. Now, most tower levels have 10 or more fights. You can switch difficulties at any given moment outside of combat. You cannot change it while you are in active combat. This way, player is able to choose which fights they want to try on hardest difficulty for the achievement. After that, we are left with some crafting trophies. For example, craft 30 items, apply 10 enchantments. Then there are some hero development and combat achievements. Learn all 8 skills on a single hero, equip all items on a hero. Many of them are self-explanatory and easy to get. The one that I want to talk about is min-max. It requires for a single hero to reach 50 points on 2 attributes. The max amount which you can give to a hero by spreading points on a character sheet is 30. Another 20 needs to come from gear. Fortunately, crafted gear comes to the rescue. Just pick up 2 attributes, save game, preferably at the point when your hero is already at max level. So, respect the character and place all points only in 2 chosen attributes. Then craft gear with only those 2 attributes. Upgrade those attributes on gear. Create the lower quality items because they allow for more upgrades, therefore more attribute points per piece of equipment, and voila. If you mess up anything, this is why you saved. You can try again and again. The last set of achievements are tied to character skills and combat. Some of them will be done naturally during your normal gameplay. If you use Eric for healing, then making him heal 10,000 damage with healing totem is really easy. There's like 2 of those combat skill related trophies per character. For example, this one requires Kayn to use dash 10 times during a combat. This one asks to use blind rage as Boron 2 times in single combat. This is an ability unlocked at hero level 9, so pretty late in the game. Then you need to have enough rage cap in order to be able to use this skill. Then just fire up one of the easier challenges. You can even lower the difficulty and, well, just use the ability 2 times. Really easy. And that's a key for those achievements. Every one of those hero or combat related trophies can be done in challenge menu on some easier encounter on easier difficulty. Just respect your team if you need to pick the right skills and then just spam required attacks. For the achievements like the one needing the whole party to be below 10% HP and mana at the end of the fight, the easiest way of obtaining achievement is again to pick a lower difficulty challenge fight, get there, kill all enemies, leave one up. Preferably a ranged one, so we cannot kill it by mistake. The key thing, do not take full party, take one character. Achievement states that the whole party has to be below 10% mana and HP. If your whole party is one person, the trophy still counts and it's much easier to manage a single hero and track their HP and mana. I took Kayn, stripped him out of majority of his armor, most importantly reduced the HP regen. I took a self-heal in order to save the situation if for some reason he took too much damage. Then I took Blades of Justice, so I could reliably burst the last enemy when I would reach requirements for trophy. So I killed all the enemies, left the last guy hitting me, then just burn mana with some skills that would not kill the enemy. When Kayn's HP and mana was low enough, I just finished off the last foe. The achievement that requires your party to have less than 10 HP at the end of the fight works the same. This time you just need to count how much damage per attack the last enemy deals. You need to be sure that after his last attack you will be in the range below 10 HP.
Ready to serve, my lord.
This game was almost like a dream come true for me. For such a long time I craved for an experience focusing on a dungeon crawling, World of Warcraft style. Controlling the whole team with a tank, attracting enemy attention, a healer and dedicated damage dealers. A game with tactical combat, meaningful class customization, various reliable builds for characters and deep itemization. Tower of Time has all of that, and for the first 15-20 hours I was madly impressed with its gameplay depth. Unfortunately, the game feels like it's too long. The encounters and boss fights, while still very well designed, start to feel similar. The monotony creeps in. The story and lore created by the developers are remarkable and offer a fresh take on fantasy world, its races, and a great mysterious mage tower. Narrative touches on many interesting themes and might even get a little bit convoluted at one point, but I believe that it's a great example of competent writing. Graphics are not impressive, but the music got my attention right away. I enjoyed the ambient soundtracks on various tower floors. Tower of Time's main hook is its tactical gameplay. If you enjoy building a team of heroes, acquiring new loot, strategizing not only during encounters but also when you equip your heroes with new gear, then you should give this game a try. I know that this is not a game for everyone, but it certainly is for me. I recommend this game. Hey, I want to thank every one of you who watched this video till the end. If you like it, then please hit the thumbs up and maybe share your opinion in the comments. If you didn't like it, then feel free to hit the dislike button and maybe share your opinion as to what you didn't like. My question to you after this video is: do you know of a game that would be just like playing WoW dungeons on raids in single player or maybe even multiplayer environment? But you know, a title focused on that aspect of gameplay. Hard boss fights with meaningful challenge and deep itemization. So that's all from me. Bye.